Welcome back to our panel discussion, Improving the Digital Customer Experience in Government, sponsored by Zendesk here on Federal News Network. My guests today are Ed Walters. He's the Chief Customer Officer at the General Services Administration. Dr. Linda Davis is the Chief Veterans Experience Officer at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Chris Green is the Deputy Chief Operating Officer for Student Experience and Aid Delivery for the Federal Student Aid Program at the Department of Education. And Maria Country is the Regional Vice President at Zendesk. I'm your moderator, Tom Temin. And I want to get into the issue of the fact that service delivery for government, just as it is for commercial industry, is not single channel. We have online, we have mobile, we have online chats, and we also have in person for that matter still. So my question is, and we'll start with you, Chris Green, is how do you integrate all of the different disparate channels that our customers expect in such a way that the customer experience is both informed and consistent from channel to channel?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Tom. It's a great one. One of the things we talked a little bit about our pain point analysis, and one of the things that became abundantly clear to us was that different customers like to communicate with us in different ways. And so we want to have the ability to provide them the opportunity to communicate with us on the mode of their choice, at the time of their choice. And so we put a lot of effort into trying to understand how they communicate with us, what makes sense, and giving them the resources and the tools to do it at a time and on a device of their choice. Some of my colleagues talked earlier about producing an app. We launched an app a few years ago to give folks, more and more of our customer base are using phones and tablets and things like that. And we really needed to give them the channel to do that. I think we talked a little bit about, we have 11 different servicers with 11 different phone numbers, 1-800 numbers. We consolidated all those phone numbers into a single 1-800 number that customers can call and then get automatically routed to the servicer that has their loans. That's for that portion of the customers that want to use phones. For those that want to use the web, as I said, we consolidated a series of websites. I've been at FSA for quite a while. We used to have literally on the order of 60, 70, 80 websites. We're now down to a single website that we've consolidated to, studentaid.gov. You can get everything you need from learning about the student aid programs, to applying for the student aid programs, to repaying your loans. And so everything was consolidated there for customers who want to use the web. Customers who want to use a mobile device, they can use an app. By the way, all of our websites are mobile responsive. So whatever device you want to use, it'll give you a better experience. And so we've really put a lot of time and effort in trying to understand what their habits are. Clearly on the call center side, there's a lot of effort put in there. We know when people call. We know from a cyclical basis from our business when they call. We know from a weekly basis, they tend to call on Mondays because we're not open on Saturdays and Sundays. So we need to staff up accordingly. We put a lot of time and effort into looking at the metrics, understanding what's best and gives the optimal experience for our customers, and then adjusting our service delivery to meet those needs.
Linda, it sounds like there's a lot of back-end work that needs to be done to support that multi-mode, multi-channel experience so that it is consistent and informed for whoever comes in and how they come in.
Absolutely. And at the VA, just like Chris identified, it was very, very important to give choice to our over 20 million customers. Veterans, their families, caregivers, survivors, different ages, some rural, etc. And we wanted to make sure they had a way to reach us that was convenient, first of all, to them. So that back end work, integrating those channels, you first had to create the framework that said, first we listen, but then once we listen, how do we standardize and capture in one consolidated area? We call it VA, our VA profile, and also our VA's customer experience data warehouse, where it enables us to have all the information we collect from the veterans in one place, especially related to their benefits and their medical records, et cetera. But with that in hand, not only is it important to keep contemporary in terms of technology, but to understand that the technology is secondary to the personal interactions. And even if that is how we train the agents or how you use the chatbot, you know, what kinds of responses do we have? Is there a knowledge management library that ensures clear, easy to understand, consistent responses across the profiles? Just three quick examples. We now use all of this based on the first doing the human-centered design and listening with the veterans, is we now have 65 what we call V-signal surveys that in real time ask our veterans, what was your experience when you went to the hospital? What was your experience when you had a loved one that had to be served at a cemetery, when you had a board appeal? And that information goes directly back to those who manage the service delivery, so they can fix it if there's one veteran having a service recovery problem, or if there's multiple veterans that have a program improvement. That's really important in things like pharmacy hours and the delivery of medications. As you can imagine, we've gotten 2.2 million free text comments that tell us compliments, concerns, and recommendations through those. In our technology, our contact centers, Chris mentioned contact center consolidation. We have not only the White House VA hotline that answers live agent concerns from veterans 24/7, but we now have the 411, our consolidated single front door that lets a veteran choose whether they want to, you know, self-inform themselves or go to a live agent. And we've had 2.8 million customers served just through that newest one. But finally, as you pointed out, Tom, the in-person is so key. And here's where we have two things. During COVID, we have our veteran virtual experience action centers. We went online with state and local agency services, with nonprofits, from veteran service organizations, corporations, and we put together a capability to reach a veteran where they were in their home, rural, underserved, disabled, and to give them one appointment with all of these people on the line at the same time, pre-triage, to support them with the benefits. And also we've been able to do our vet resources, pushing out information they can use very simply, very clearly. We've had over 44 million clicks on that. We've had over 1 billion contacts with veterans just initiating that new platform.
Wow, some amazing numbers here. That rivals any retailer you can think of that's operating nationwide. And Ed, let me ask you this. You know, GSA has, as the federal government, a primary client across the many domains, as you mentioned earlier, information technology, vehicles, buildings. So the GSA staff is now scattered because of pandemic. The constituents are scattered because of pandemic. How does that fit in and mix up the mode question? And how do you do that integration when everyone's scattered and on a different mode than they might have been earlier?
Hey, Tom, it's a great question. I mean, I started my position on September 28th, and I've never met any of my employees within my office. I've never met in person the administrator or the deputy administrator. And I feel like I haven't missed a beat. I mean, I've really been brought into the culture and into the operations very quickly. I think one of the things that's extremely important out there is our customers want to know who they can talk to. So there's certain expectations that are set, especially with only 4% of our workforce last year since the pandemic has gone in on a given day. So the ability to do chat, the ability to be reached quickly, we've actually seen improvements in that area since we've gone to this. So it's been disruptive, I would say, in a good way. The other thing is our administrator. We pulled together customer dashboards, and she brings in the Office of Customer Experience when she has meetings at the highest levels with the other agencies, and shares those dashboards for what's most meaningful at that highest level, whether it's a cabinet secretary or a head of another agency. And we do those same types of things at the lower level too. So I really think that focus on customer experience from the top and the bottom has been really successful for us. And I feel that we've been very much supported with technology, and want to give a shout out to our CIO and our entire leadership team for supporting that. But as Linda said, that personal touch point is critical. And in some cases, the expectation comes because people are working from home and they suppose they're available more quickly via chat, that there's an expectation that is set there too. Thanks.
Okay, yes. And so, Marie, let me throw you this question. Of course, you have to have good customer experience only when the people delivering it have the tools they need. And they are also multimodal, just like the recipients of the customer experience are. And so, what are some of the technological approaches that are emerging to be able to empower the deliverers of service with the information and the technology they need so that whatever mode the client comes in with, we're all going to be okay?
Absolutely. I think it's a number of things. One is really trying to capture all the information about that experience in one place. So when it comes to that agent or that employee to help service them, that they're armed with that information. So for instance, and this is the integrating of channels, if somebody comes to your website and they start to search for information, which typically they do first, right? They're frustrated, they can't find it, right? So they hit a chat button or they ask to submit some type of request, right? That should be a very contextual request. So if that chat pops up, that agent should know this is where this person was on the website and this is the article or information they were looking at, so they can pick up that like a conversation, right? Very important. It's also important in some of the technology around, someone mentioned chatbots and artificial intelligence and knowledge bases, to have that same capability internally for your employees, right? Because that can help them as they have a constituent on the phone or trying to service somebody, to be able to more quickly find the relevant information, be able to, service that person very quickly. So those are some of the technologies that we're really seeing to help employees. And also with that kind of effective technology and that kind of good information, you can start onboarding your employees a lot quicker. We've had some customers that have said they went from 6 months to 6 weeks to have that kind of good knowledge base and artificial intelligence to help empower their employees, which is really important because they today are fielding more, volume than ever. Right. And they're at home a lot of times now. So they don't have somebody to tap on the shoulder next to them to say, hey, can you help me with this? They really have to have good collaboration tools.
Yeah, Chris, let me ask you, do you have a hierarchy and a technological base to carry out that questioning hierarchy from web to maybe chat to, we better call this person, or I
Yeah.
guess in the extreme case, they need to come in, that type of thing? How do you do all that routing and decision treeing?
Yeah, and it's a good question. I mean, just to piggyback on what Maria was saying, I mean, one of the things that we've really done, which has helped our customer service representatives, is provide them with the same view that our customers are seeing. So to Maria's point, that they go to the web first, and a lot of times they'll go to the web, they'll play around, see if they can find out what's going on, and then call us while they're online. Our CSRs now have the ability to see what they're doing. And they can follow them along to help them either navigate to where they need to go, or to provide them the answers they need, or to direct them somewhere else. But that ability has been critically important and a huge improvement in the way our customer service representatives are able to help people. Just real quickly, going back to something Ed was saying, this whole idea of going remote, both internally within FSA and the Department of Education in our various workplaces, has been a challenge. It was a huge challenge for us with our CSR population, right? So we had 11 different servicers who we needed to take them remote in a period of a week. And, this is, tens of thousands of people who are trying to continue to service our customers while at the same time, dealing with everything else that we're dealing with, like my Wi-Fi issues at home, or my kids are working at home, or whatever. And that in and of itself was a huge challenge, but kudos to the team for really coming together. I mean, we had one service center that had an earthquake while all of this stuff was going on. So not only were they trying to go remote, not only were they trying to take a pandemic, they're in the middle of an earthquake. So, trying to deal with all these things, we've really become very agile in terms of how we operate and how we're able to help people. And I think it's just a real testament to everyone as we've gone through all of this.
And Linda, I was just curious at Veterans Affairs, because you have these different constituents from different eras, and you've still got World War II people coming to Veterans Affairs, all the way to the most recent people that have mustered out of the Defense Department. And so there must be a mode of activity that is associated with each of these generations. It's almost like the geology of veterans going from their 20s to their 90s. And that must affect how you approach the whole customer experience piece.
Absolutely, Tom, it does. And that's why we give the multiple channels we were talking about for ways to reach us. That's why we have, as Maria was referring to, the chat bot, and we have the vet text I said that enables us to reach out and send push messages for those veterans who don't have the capability. Of course, we have phones if they're not using a web-enabled cell phone or something else in their home. And that's certainly the case in some of the rural areas still, or by choice. They're not native to technology and they don't feel comfortable. So for our main ways that everyone can reach us is by phone. And in 2017, we ensured we had the 24/7 capability, live answer, White House VA hotline. There was one number. It is backed by a CRM system and Salesforce, so we can triage right there a concern that someone may have. Now, the important thing about that is we also have a warm handoff immediately for those veterans who are in crisis, not only to the crisis line, but also for those who are homeless or those who need assistance with food, et cetera, shelter. We're able to provide that immediately. And then we know so many veterans, maybe they just want to know, what's the address? How do I get there? What hours is this part of the pharmacy functioning? And that's why we implemented recently the combined capability of all our contact centers through the MyVA 411, that front door that is automated, self-automated, unless they want to speak to a live agent. And of course, both of these, all the agents have the same knowledge management library and the ability to tap in to Salesforce for customer support.
All right, a good note to take a break on. This discussion is Improving the Digital Customer Experience in Government, sponsored by Zendesk here on Federal News Network.